dear learners on the platform of MOOCs. I am Professor Nafis Ahmad Ansari from Department of Political Science of Aligarh Muslim University. Today we are going to discuss a very important area of the personal administration, that is bureaucracy. The executive branch of the government is known as the bureaucracy, and it is under this branch that the elected government employs qualified state officials to manage state affairs. In accordance with the principles of merit, the government chooses them. When compared to bureaucracy, democracy refers to the method by which the people elect the government, while bureaucracy refers to the system in which the elected government employs competent state officials to handle state affairs. In accordance with the principles of merit, the government chooses them. The Prime Minister, the Council of Ministers, and a huge committee known as the bureaucracy or the administrative machinery are all members of administrative organ of governance. The term civil service is used to stress the distinctions between this apparatus and the service provided by the military. In order to provide assistance to the ministers in the process of creating policies and enforcing these policies, the government has appointed officers who are both highly trained, experienced, and who work as permanent employees. In its most basic sense, the term bureaucracy refers to a form of governance in which the majority of significant decisions are made by the state officials rather than by representatives who have been elected by the people. A bureaucracy is a group of government officials who are not elected to their positions but who come together to form an administrative policy making group. This is a straightforward definition of the term. In the past, the term bureaucracy was used to describe a government administration that was established by individuals who were not elected to their positions and was managed by departments that were employed by those officials. When we talk of a bureaucracy in modern times, we are referring to an administration that is responsible for governing any significant institutions, whether it is in the public or private sectors. Administratively, bureaucracy is means of bringing together individuals who are required to collaborate under the umbrella of a single organization. In the modern world, practically all organizations, including colleges and governments in both the public and the commercial sectors, rely on the bureaucracies for proper functionings. These includes both public and independent organizations. The centralized and hierarchical organization of a firm as well as the management of public affairs is both cases that can be considered examples of bureaucracy in any many countries. In addition to educating and supervising the officials who are paid by the government to carry out the administration of the relevant organization, government bureaucrats are responsible for a wide range of other tasks as well. To put government, bureaucrats are responsible for a wide range of tasks and actions as well as to take laws and decisions made by the government officials and put them into effect is the primary responsibility of bureaucrats. Additionally, some bureaucrats are responsible for writing rules and regulations in order to put government policy into effect, while others are in charge of actually administering policies to individuals. Among these policies is the provisions of loans to small business as well as other programs of similar nature. When taken in its literal sense, the term bureaucracy refers to the rule by desk of offices, which provides a concise explanation of the how bureaucracies functions within an organizations. There are instances when people have the misconceptions that the bureaucracy are inefficient or wasteful. However, having a bureaucracy helps to ensure that a big number of people can collaborate and work in a ways that are compatible with one another by clearly defining the roles that each individual plays within a hierarchy. It is possible that this will be advantageous for the better functioning of the organization as well as the better implementation of policies while discussing the bureaucracies that are prevalent in the government. Public administration refers to the process of utilizing a variety of government policies in order to carry out the duties of administering the government and providing services to the people. With the explanation that was provided above, it is not difficult to understand that the term bureaucracy may be used to refer to both the body of government officials who are not elected and to a group that is responsible for formulating administrative policies. India's bureaucracy system is concerned when we try to trace it. Although Britain was the first nation to establish bureaucracy in the late 19th century, it has since become an essential component of every nation that has industrialized as well as those that are still in the process of developing. Each and every modern government must include a bureaucratic structure as an essential component. It was for this reason that the leaders of Free India came to conclusion that they should maintain the bureaucratic system that had been established by the British government. There are four primary elements that define in the bureaucracy in India: a distinctive hierarchy, a division of labor, the practice of specialization, and the pre-existing set of regulations or standard operating procedures. There are ministers at very top of the executive branch who are accountable to the legislature. The fact that their appointment is connected to the election is the reason why these ministers are referred to as temporary executives. In addition to these temporary executives, there are also significant number of government officials whose terms of employment are predetermined. In what capacity does bureaucracy play its role? For this answer, we can say the administration of the policies that have been defined by the government is the primary and the most important function that the bureaucracy is responsible for. The statute supplies the Council of Ministers with the fundamental framework and policy frameworks that is needed to function. In the following step, the bureaucracy is responsible for carrying out the policy implementation. This load that has been imposed upon the bureaucracy is not only novel but also quite important. The ancient functions of law and order management and income collection continue to exist in the same manner as they did before. The process of greater acceleration is not just contemporary but also significantly more substantial than the roles and duties that were previously in place. The bureaucracy in India has the significant and challenging duty of transforming a developing state into a functioning one. This is due to the fact that India is a developing country. It is not necessary for the bureaucracy to fill these functions in economies that have grown. In light of the fact that it is not an easy task to develop a nation in a short amount of time and with a limited amount of resources, the bureaucracy in India confronts a challenging task and bears the enormous burden of development. In addition to the major function that the bureaucracy plays in the development of the nation, the Indian bureaucracy also plays a number of other vital roles related to the development of the nations. Some of the list that we can discuss is in the process of running the administration. One of the most essential responsibilities that bureaucracy plays is to ensure that the administration is operating without any disruptions and in accordance with the rules and regulations that have been imposed by the government. This is something that we have previously addressed before. Advisors to political executives. The bureaucracy provide advices to the political executives in order to assist them in making decisions that are beneficial to the government. This helps to ensure that the government operates efficiently. Considering that the political executives are not fair with the operations or are not feel comfortable with the operations of the government, these bureaucrats have the responsibility of guiding them through decision making process. Bureaucracy has an indirect part in the process of lawmaking since it is responsible for drafting the bills that are presented to the legislature for the purpose of enacting law for the purpose which is required to the functioning of the country. The ministers make contacts with the civil servants in order to obtain all the informations that civil officials are required to provide to the legislation in order to the bill to be passed. In order to in order for the policies that are formulated to be put into actions, it is necessary for them to be incorporated into particular circumstances. Political executives are responsible for carrying out these functions. The bureaucracy, on the other hand, plays a significant part in the entire process of policy making. As we have seen above, the civil servants or bureaucrats play a significant role in directing these political executives in their functions. The bureaucrats are responsible for maintaining and upkeeping of government records. They do this by collecting and classifying informations regarding activities carried out by the government. One definition of the bureaucracy is a specialized system and processes designed to maintain uniformity and controls within an organization. When it comes to huge businesses or governments, bureaucratic procedures are the most typical. As an illustration, a firm that operates oil rigs might develop a bureaucracy in order to compel its personnel to carry out safety checks whenever they are working on the rig. Bureaucracy is a special type of organization that is characterized by its complexity, division of labor, permanency, professional management, hierarchical coordinations and control, rigid change of command, and legal authority. The difference between it and informal and collegial group is that it is formal, not based on the connections of the kingship, friendship, patronal authority, or charismatic authority. Bureaucracy is impersonal and rational in its ideal form. It is also based on the regulations. Both public and private institutions are capable of exhibiting bureaucratic organization because of their nature. The term bureaucratic system refers to a system that is characterized by an excessive number of rules and regulations, but not sufficient in efficiency. An essential component of the contemporary governance and organization is the presence of bureaucracy. It exemplifies a formal system that is well known for its distinct levels of authority, distinct positions, standardized procedures, and specialized activities. This system provides assistance to various complicated organizations by controlling and administering them in an effective manner. The well known sociologist Max Weber conducted substantial research on the topic of bureaucracy. He noted its characteristics, which include a rigid structure, well defined responsibilities, predetermined norms, impersonal connections, and hiring decision making that is focused on abilities and qualifications. It is common to criticize bureaucracy for being rigid and causing hurdles owing to an excessive number of rules and procedures, despite the fact that it strives to maintain order and fairness. The modern world is filled with bureaucracy in many different areas, including government agencies, enterprises, educational institutions, charitable organizations, etc. It contributes to the preservation of structure, guarantees adherence to the predetermined rules, and offer a methodical approach to the process of decision making and organizational governance. In spite of the fact that it is efficient in performing everyday duties, it is frequently criticized for its slowness to adapt, its abilities to stifle innovations, and its tendency to cause administrative bottlenecks. Though throughout the course of this session, we will get a comprehensive understanding of bureaucracy by investigating its various types, functions, characteristics, and overall functioning procedures. According to Robert Garner, bureaucracy refers to the civil officials and administrative functionaries who have received professional training for public service and who are able to enjoy permanent tenure and promotions within the service, with promotions being determined in a part by seniority and in part by merit. Identification of traits of a bureaucracy. The term bureaucracy refers to a system of organization that is characterized by its size and complexity. The purpose of everything is that exists within a bureaucracy, including responsibilities, employment, and assignments, is to be accomplished as someone or something. It is possible for big private enterprises to be organized in a bureaucratic fashion. Bureaucracies can be found at the federal, state, country, and local level of government. The term bureaucrats refers to every individual who works for the government agencies, from high level of administrators and executives to clerical staff. All the employees of a major metropolitan schools districts, including the superintendent, teachers, librarians, nurses, and security guards, are considered to be bureaucrats. The word bureaucrat and the bureaucracy are almost often associated with negative connotations. Long and complicated forms, standing in long lines, experiences with clerks who are flexible and lack apathy, are inflexible and lack apathy, are all things that come to mind when I think of them. When it comes to the completing a process that would ordinarily be straightforward, even the most basic request might become bogged down in the bureaucratic hoops. In spite of widespread belief to the contrary, large government institutions actually requires bureaucracy in order to function properly. There are a number of traits that are shared by the bureaucracies, such as codified regulations, hierarchical organization, and specializations. These qualities make it possible for a bureaucracy to operate efficiently provided that the conditions are favorable. Having a specialist in a bureaucracy, employees are responsible for doing specific activities that need to have training and competence. Professionals that have received training are able to do their tasks effectively. The disadvantage of specialization is that bureaucrats frequently are unable to or refuse to work out of class, which means they are unable to take on a task that is not within the scope of their job description's responsibilities. Structured in a hierarchical fashion. We refer to the structure of a bureaucracy as an hierarchy, which is progressions of tiers that begins with the lowest level employee in the business and ends with the highest rank CEO. There is a distinct separation of authority and responsibilities between each level. Rules that are formal. In order to function, bureaucracy adhere to formal norms. These instructions deals the manner in which each and every task within the organization or within a specific level of hierarchy is to be carried out. The regulations are typically referred to as standard operation procedure SOP, and they are presented in the form of procedures manual. By adhering to the regulations, bureaucrats are able to make decisions that are appropriate without wasting any time. On the other hand, the operation of a bureaucracy is not without its share of inconsistencies. Because of the bureaucrats' narrow emphasis on unique expertise, it is possible that they will fail to recognize a problem in the way they are performing a work. The inability of the bureaucrat is to notice the problem, particularly if it occurs in a domain that is outside the bureaucratic area of competence, may be contributing factors to the problem. In addition, the hierarchical structure makes it impossible to take a democratic approach to the resolutions of issues. It can be challenging for employees at lower levels of the organization to question the decision made by supervisors and executives and managers may be ignorant that an issues exist several rungs down the organizational ladders. A German sociologist named Max Weber 1864 to 1920 is considered to be the most influential theorist of bureaucracy. Weber was the first person to articulate the ideal features of the bureaucracy and to propose an explanation for the historical evolution of the bureaucratic institutions. According to the Weber, the characteristics that define bureaucracy are what set it apart from other sorts of organizations that are founded on forms of authority that are not legal. In this observation, Weber noted that the benefits of bureaucracy was that it was the most technically proficient, or we can say that it is the best technically fit type of organization. Bureaucracy proposed specialized skills, certainty, continuity, and unity. With the rise of the money based economy, which ultimately led to the formation of capitalism and the accompanying requirements to assure impersonal, rational legal transactions, bureaucracy emerged as a preferred types of organization. This culminated in the development of capitalism. In a short amount of time, the instrumental organization such as public stock business enterprises came into existence due to the fact that their bureaucratic structure enabled them to handle the different needs of capitalist productions in a more efficient manner than small scale producers. There is a tendency of contemporary stereotypes of bureaucracy to characterize it as being sluggish, lazy, undemocratic, and incompetent. Nevertheless, Weber's theory of bureaucracy places an emphasis not only on the comparative technical and proficiency advantages of bureaucracy, but it also attributes its dominance as a form of organization to diminishment of caste system such as feudalism and other forms of inequitable social relations that are based upon a person's status. The pure form of bureaucratic organization would be characterized by the predominance of universalized rules and processes, which would render personal positions or relationships meaningless. This particular sort of bureaucracy is the epitome of the universalized standards, in which cases that are similar are treated identically as codified by law and rules, and in which the individual performances and discretions of the administrators are restrained by rules that govern due process. In spite of the prevalent negative preconceptions that are associated with the bureaucracy, the existence of bureaucracy is necessary for the operation of legal based system of government. On the other hand, the term bureaucracy and bureaucrats are often considered and used in a derogatory manner. They provide the impression of bureaucracy, an excessive number of rules and regulations, a lack of imaginations, a lack of individual discretions, centralized control, and absence of accountability. Many common modern representations of the bureaucracy portrays them as inefficient and lacking in adaptations, which is a far cry from the conceptions of bureaucracies are being competent. It is possible for both favorable and unfavorable descriptions of bureaucracy to be correct. This is due to the fact that the features that characterize the organizational advantages of bureaucracy also have within them the possibilities of organizational dysfunctions. There is a contradictory possibility that the traits that makes bureaucracies effective can also be responsible for the development of organizational diseases. A competent jurisdictional authority. The ability to exercise jurisdictional authority is an essential component of bureaucratic organization, which is divided into units that have clearly delineated responsibilities. In its most basic form, jurisdictional competence is synonymous with the bureaucratic specialization. In a bureaucracy, every component has a certain functions to fulfill. When an individual advances higher upon the organizational structure, their duties becomes more extensive. The organizational division of labor makes it possible for units and individuals within an organization to acquire the necessary skills and knowledge as well as to transform the novel into the usual mode of operations. It is possible for the division of labor to result in a number of detrimental organizational pathologies despite the fact that it is highly efficient. For instance, units or individuals may be unable to recognize and respond appropriately to problems that are outside of their area of expertise, and they may approach our problems and priorities solely from the perspective of a unit's particular capability. By permitting organizational units to classify a problem as belonging to someone other units, as a result leaves the issue of unaddressed. This aspect the bureaucracy can also be led to organizational units avoiding responsibility for their actions. On the other hand, every department within an organization has a tendency to put a face on an issue that is primarily favorable to its own interest, capabilities, and technologies. Control and command both. It is easy to understand the chain of command and control in bureaucracy. Hierarchical organization of bureaucratic authority is characterized by the assumptions of responsibility at the highest level and the delegation of the responsibility with a decreasing discretion at the lower levels. Having the ability to coordinate and control a large number of units is absolutely necessary because of the possibility of organizational proclivism that can arise by having restricted and specific jurisdictional capabilities. When it comes to the preventing units from exercising unfettered discretions and maintaining variety, authority is the goal with the keep everything together. However, the role of hierarchy, authority as a way of gaining organizational command and control is one of the few aspects of bureaucratic life that has gotten a much negative attention as it has. On the other hand, popular criticism highlighted the fact that hierarchical organization stifle creative impulses and still hyper cautious habits of behavior based on assumptions of what superiors may want. In order to coordinate the various components of a bureaucratic organization, command and control are essential. These command and control mechanisms allow for the delegations of responsibilities, the reduction of discretion, and the growing of responsibility of words. Thank you.